Alrighty, everybody, we are back at it again. This time we are going up, starting up a new discography. We did the little one-off with David and David's Boomtown, kind of a pop album from the '80s. This time we're going into my favorite guitar player of all time. Like I said, he's right back there in a poster. Um, I've seen him live, and just absolutely incredible guitar player with such passion and emotion and just all these incredible talents. Of course, we're talking about Steve Vai. He's been in several bands, such as David Lee Roth. He's played with Whitesnake for a time. He's played with Frank Zappa, who's like his mentor. Um, he's just been all over the place, and it's awesome. He even did little work on an Ozzy album, like a track what album was it? Osmosis for Ozzy. There's just countless things he's done on soundtracks and such like that. But today, this is right at the beginning here. Of course, we're talking about the one and only 1984 album. We got two of them here. Flexible. This one right here is the original cover, which is pretty cool and all. I like the colors on it. And this was the reissue cover, I believe. They dropped that reissue in 1988. And I like this cover better. It's got a lot more character to it with the pastel colors, the bendy guitar there, and the little alien flying around, which, he'll appear in a song. So, but yeah, both are really cool covers. And I just, what's really cool is the EP, which of course we'll cover the next episode. Has the Flexible Leftovers EP has like a matching cover to this, and then so this also has like a matching cover for the EP, the Flexible Leftovers. So they kind of have like they go one and one with each other. But I'm not gonna just hold up two of these the whole time. So we'll just go with the cooler cover, in my opinion, which is of course this right here. And of course that's Steve right there. This is fresh out of his time with Zappa and all that. Kind of he hadn't been in a lot of these other bands that we just talked about there yet. So this is a very, very experimental album, and there's really a little taste of everything that Steve's all about on here, and that the kind of stuff that he'll go on to do more of later on in his albums. And we started off with Little Green Man, little guy right there, a little alien. It's kind of hard to see with the glare, but he's hiding right there. Really funny, and this song is really funny too. If you ever if you ever listen to Frank Zappa, there's some comedy sometimes thrown in on his tracks, and just some kind of goofy stuff. Like Cocaine Decisions, just fun stuff like that. And Zappa being Vai's mentor, of course we're gonna get some stuff like that in this very experimental record. And this is what's crazy is that Vai he starts off very experimental with his albums. He goes to none of them are really formulaic by any means, but he does stick later on to more instrumental stuff and just pieces like that. But right off the bat, Little Green Man is super funny. He's got like his voice tuned up like super high pitched. It sounds like a little green alien. And even on the back it says vocals Steve Vai Munchkins. So, and I love the lyrics in it talking about, just them coming to Earth, how the government's covering up the aliens and all this fun stuff. It's a blast of a song. It's not something I'm going to jam out down the road to, but whenever you're playing this album all the way through, it's just fun. I absolutely love the opening of that, and I can see how that could definitely be a big, turn away for a lot of people if they just pop open this album, and that's what you're greeted with right off the bat. But if you stick around, you're in for some great stuff. But even that I think is great, and it's really fun, and just one of the funniest songs he's ever done. And like I said, throughout his discography, we'll get a good few of those like kind of funnier ones to show his sense of humor and all, which I'm all on board with. I like that stuff. But yeah, just and a really offbeat riff if you want to talk about kind of how the song actually plays out itself. But then we go on to a more just a straight up instrumental here. One of my favorites off here, Viv Woman. And it's apparently dedicated to Vivian Carley. I'm not really sure who that is, but it says that in the back here. But, man, just what a freaking badass track. This one's got kind of the offbeat kind of riff too, with some cool bass work. there's a whole slew of different studio and session musicians on here. Nobody like super notable, you know, besides of course Vi himself. But Viv Woman's got such a cool groove to it and starts shredding over that groove. This is more like what, you know, Steve Vai will become known for. This style of playing and this style being very prevalent on his later albums and such. But Viv Woman, you know, it's a major standout on this album, and it's one of my favorites off there. Just such a cool groove to it. Pure instrumental track right there. Then we got a really cool one here. This one has some vocals on it. Steve Vai, which, you know, he's a pretty damn good singer himself, and he sings. You know, he doesn't do a lot of singing throughout his career, but I mean, there's a fair amount of tracks that he does sing lead vocals on throughout his career. This one's one of them here. Lovers Are Crazy. This is one of my favorites too. A really kind of weird, like, and I'll talk about the guitar tone here because it really is prevalent here. It's really the guitar tone he's got on like these kind of goofier songs, you know. And Lovers Are Crazy is kind of goofy. It's got kind of a funny vibe to it with the lyrics and such. But it's got kind of like, just like the guitar on there, it's like bendy, a lot of bends going on. But of course, with his distortion, like whenever you get him soloing on Viv Woman, like the second track, it's like that classic Steve Vai, just beautiful, crisp guitar tone. But anyways, Lovers Are Crazy is kind of like a more chill out kind of track, you know, just kind of a soft kind of guitar playing, very clean stuff. And then you get, I love the pre-chorus. That's my favorite part, when you get these really soft and very well done vocals from Steve. And you get these harmonics going on and just really pretty melody. And then you get the big chorus that's got all the horns and trumpets and, you know, all kinds of cool stuff in it. And I mean, some of the lyrics are kind of funny, you know, like in one of the verses he's saying like, "Say I'm your baby," and then like, or in one of the choruses, I mean, and then in like another chorus he says, "Say I'm your baby," like, and it just sounds like it bent, just like the guitar in there, and he does a cool guitar bend with it. So really cool. That's one of my favorites off here. Always been one of my favorites. Then we get this little instrumental. This one's not too long of one, maybe a 1-2 minute one, but it's pretty unique on here. Salamanders in the Sun, and it's very there's a lot of flute going on in here over the guitar. That's really clean and just kind of fun sounding, you know, kind of lighthearted sounding. And then we get the of course Vi kicks in with the more distorted guitar behind the flute, which makes for a really interesting sound to it. So Salamanders in the Sun, for that 2 little minute, you know, thing, it's pretty cool. There's even a little sitar on here, which is pretty cool. Then we get, this one's really melodic. I'm surprised this one, like, you know, well, I'm not really surprised, considering, you know, he was this is his first solo album and kind of didn't do a lot before this, you know, like I said, stuff with Zappa and all that, but he wasn't really famous yet. But so I'm not surprised that this wasn't a hit. But I mean, if he was already famous, you know, and more known, I could see this being a hit due to its melody. The boy girl song, really fun, loving. You know, it sounds like a 50s, 60s kind of, you know, just a really fun song, a little duet, like a 50s or 60s duet, because you've got the vocals on here is, all it says is Ranton and Raven, and I'm not really sure who they are, but I mean, they're good, solid vocalists, and very fun-loving kind of track. You know, that, you know, it's got like a snap to it, kind of groove to it, just like that kind of 50s vibe. And then you start getting the layering, like the first verse, this is really cool. The first verse and chorus is Ranton, who I'm guessing is the dude, because I've never really heard that name before, but and he kind of does his part there. And then the next verse and chorus is the girl, Raven. And then that final one, after a little solo there from Vi, is this, they're layered those vocals all on top of each other. It makes a really cool effect. So yeah, just, that's another one of my favorites off here. So that's all on side 1. And yeah, another cool thing on the back here. Well, that's really cool too. I like that art. But it says side 1, instead of calling it side 1, it's side flex. And then side 2 is able, you know, so kind of cool there. Then we get another one that's more in the traditional style of what like Steve Vai's known for, the Attitude song, which is a good little jam, not as long or as jammy as a Viv Woman, but he's just going nuts on here, showing off that attitude, and I freaking love that one. Such a cool song, especially, you know, if people aren't really fans of the more experimental stuff like the Boy Girl song and Lovers Are Crazy Little Green Men, then like Viv Woman and the Attitude song, these two they'd probably dig, because they're more of like what, like just shreddy stuff, you know. So I love the Attitude song. Then we get on another instrumental that was dedicated to, says dedicated to the beautiful memory of Lori Good and Mary Savage, and I read a little bit about that one. Apparently that one was two classmates of his who died in a car accident back when he was in high school. So that's kind of a sad one, and you really feel that emotion from Vi on his guitar in here. I'm talking like it starts off really soft and just kind of pretty, you know, with just kind of very soft tones and slides going on, and then I mean out of nowhere you just hear the pain and the emotion in there with this big wailing um freaking run he does in this bend that he, oh man, and then he does this really cool like run up the scale really fast, in fact, and he shows off a lot of speed up in there, in that portion of the song. And then, you know, it goes back to that kind of softer, you know, more peaceful vibe it's got going. So that's one of my favorites off here. Absolutely love that song. It's a freaking, man, that's a classic for me. And that's one of my favorite Vi solos of all time, actually, is on Call It Sleep. I mean, it's just, again, especially it being about, you know, something, a situation, you know, that really, you know, seemingly really affected him. You know, he dedicated a whole song to it on here. You can really hear it in the playing, and that's just a beautiful thing about it. Then we go on to Junkie, which is got some, apparently this one's got Bob Harris. Not really sure who that is, but he's singing vocals on here. Does a pretty good job here. He does a lot of things on this album, come to look at it here, trumpet and different stuff like that, but, or really just trumpet and vocals. But, anyways, yeah, he's, you know, he's got a pretty cool voice, kind of a deeper tone voice that it's kind of got some funny lyrics, but kind of sad at the same time. Talk about eating trash, but then they took the trash can away from him, so he's trying to eat rocks, but they don't have any taste. So it's kind of a funny one. And then Vi kicks in, you know, with that shred business, you know, near at the end, and he just does some immaculate speed there. Really cool playing there. And then we ended off with like these three little pieces here. Bill's Private Parts, which is just the drummer, Billy James. I've not really heard a lot of him either, besides this album, and he's just drumming. There's a cool little drum solo on there. Then we've got Next Stop Earth, which is a good like minute and a half, little just shred situation from Vi, and a lot of wacky sounds with the whammy bar that he likes to do. Especially if you see him live, he'll like show a lot of that stuff off and just, you know, going crazy with it. So Next Stop Earth is cool, and then we end it with There's Something Dead in Here, and he and he also it's a lot like Next Stop Earth with just the kind of shreddy, crazy sounds and stuff going on there, and a little bit of jamminess going on. So yeah, guys, this is it right here. The very first Steve Vai album. Again, we've got the two copies, you know, two covers here, and they both are identical on the back, except for maybe oh really? It looks like this is the you know 1988 issue. This one, it's a lot less detailed in the artwork and not as stylized. So I guess they re-released this like with this artwork after you know, he appeared with David Lee Roth and started getting more known in '88. But it's a 1984 album, and so you know he's been doing the solo thing for quite some time, and he just, you know, he hit the ball out of the park for me on this one. I know this is a very different album and very experimental, so it may not be for everybody, but you know, if we're gonna get, and we're also gonna get the same kind of stuff with Flexible Leftovers, the EP that we'll be covering next time, because it is what it sounds like. It's leftovers that didn't quite make the cut on this. But, so we'll look at those next time, and that's going to be kind of the same nature of this type stuff. But don't worry, if you're not into this whole type thing, with the experimental, you know, kind of thing this thing goes for, then hang around, because he does, you know, one of the most famous instrumental albums of all time, Passion and Warfare, and, you know, he does stuff like that, does some more band-oriented stuff with Vi on Sex and Religion. So, you know, we're going to get going, and you're going to see a lot of change in evolution of Vi as a player and how he does his albums and such. So if you're not into the whole kind of silly, goofy, kind of Frank Zappa-esque stuff, just hang tight because, he only really does like a whole album of, really the album's not filled with that, but this does have a lot of that going on, which I love, kind of the fun nature of it. But he does go get more serious tones like we saw on Call It Sleep and Viv Woman and the Attitude song. We see more of that after the EP that we'll cover next time. But yeah, guys, if you guys have heard of Steve Vai, in other bands or whatever, and have heard this album, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it, or even if you haven't heard it, I'd love for you guys to check it out. Maybe see what you think about this, and maybe talk about some other awesome shredders, and like Satriani and Malmsteen and Paul Gilbert and all that good stuff that we're doing instrumentals and stuff around this same time. But with that being said, guys, just stay tuned for next time. We're going down another, whole rabbit hole here of a discography. I mean, it's not quite as long as like the Black Sabbath one or even the Maiden or Priest one, but I think it's a good 12, 13 albums, then that's including the EPs. I may be wrong about the exact number, but it's something around that. So not too long a discography, but this is going to be really fun, seeing the evolution of this player and going through, doing something a little bit different, covering like a primarily instrumental guitar player and instrumental albums. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think about these. Like, subscribe, comment, and tune in for next time. Thanks.